Coming up next on the voice of Alabama politics, a prosecution run amok. Also, what's happening with the gaming bill? And last stop on the legislative train. Ooh, a fiery ending. And a dud, and a thud, and an explosion. All this and much, much more coming up next on The V. Welcome to the voice of Alabama politics, where we tackle the tough issues so you have the hard facts. I'm your host, Bill Britt, and as always, I'm joined by Susan Britt, research guru extraordinaire, and Josh Moon, columnist and investigative reporter at APR.
Hey, y'all.
Hello.
We have covered a lot of ethics issues and trials and prosecution. I have to say, without a shadow of a doubt, that the prosecution of Jonathan Barbee by the Alabama Ethics Commission, by the Alabama Attorney General's Office, and by the Alabama Department of Revenue was the most egregious breach of judicial restraint. It was categorically an overreach and malicious and vindictive towards Jonathan. He was exonerated of all charges, but he pled guilty to one misdemeanor, Susan. Now, before we get started, Jonathan Barbee is the producer of this show and a dear friend. I knew that he was not guilty because anyone that knows Jonathan knows he doesn't do those things. But this was a malicious prosecution. They went after this man and tried to ruin his life because they had a political vendetta.
Yes, they did. It originated in the Ethics Commission. Well, Cynthia Ralston got the idea that Jonathan was just a bad guy, and she wanted to, punish him for it. Now, this has been going on for 4 years.
Right.
Started with that. Well, they went ahead and they put Jonathan on trial. 3-judge panel selected by the Supreme Court.
That was just a trial within the Ethics
Within the
Commission.
Ethics Commission, yes. 3-judge panel appointed by the Supreme Court of Alabama and found him not guilty. Well, that wasn't enough. So she decided then to take it to the Attorney General's office. And then when she wasn't satisfied there, then she went to Revenue and started trying to prosecute him there.
But the Attorney General's office did, Josh, pick it up. They had what has been described by people in that very office as a rogue prosecutor who had no idea what he was doing. He picked up the charges, even though they were dismissed by the Ethics Commission, and charged Barbee with 2 felony ethics violations, and then the Revenue Department, with an over-aggressive bulldog of an agent, they charged him with 3 counts of felonies of evading taxes, none of which were ever charged. He was found guilty of it all. They were all dropped.
When this was all going on, I wanted to talk to Jonathan about it. I wanted to write something about it, but they didn't want to. They wanted to handle it the right way and kind of keep it out of the media. And we never wrote anything about this stuff, but we knew the story of what was happening.
Yeah.
And to me, when you bring in 3 judges that are unconnected to any of the parties, that are untethered to any court or to any agency or anything, and they take a look at the charges and they say, no, there's nothing here. There's not enough here to do anything with. That should be the end of it.
Yeah.
That should be that. There wasn't a 2-to-1 judge split. It was 3-0. The judges said, no, this is it. There's not enough here to do anything about it. Nobody committed any crimes. What are we doing? And instead, they continued on and wasted thousands and thousands of dollars of taxpayer money over what ended up being, oh, the guy didn't pay his taxes exactly on time because of an accounting error that took place with an accountant that he had hired, and they knew that they had hired the accountant. It's just so stupid.
And let me make something really clear here, and let's look it up in the dictionary, since apparently this revenue agent doesn't understand. Because when the Attorney General's office kind of said there's nothing here, then they went to revenue, and now a failure to file became an evasion of taxes. Let me read you the definition of evading taxes: escape or avoid, especially by cleverness or trickery. Now, what Jonathan did was fail to file his taxes because he didn't understand, since he was a constable, exactly how the tax worked around, the tax code worked around
But
that.
the constable's office and the finance department of Alabama did not assist him,
No.
even though he called them repeatedly.
Right.
And he hired an attorney and an accountant.
In 2019, this was the year after, this was in 2019 when the taxes would have been due.
And let's be honest, we're talking about $1,600 in back taxes.
Which were sitting in the bank because he knew he owed the taxes. He just couldn't figure out how to pay them.
Anyway, but $250,000 to $350,000 later on Jonathan's part, $250,000 on the state's part. And what it all turned out to be were rogue prosecutors. Now, once the attorney generals brought in, not the attorney general, Steve Marshall, but once the case was handed off to two real prosecutors at the attorney general's office, they looked at it and said these charges should have never been brought.
And I can guarantee you, any number of our viewers, any number of people in the state of Alabama, in the United States, have at one time or another failed to file on time. This is what Jonathan did, failed to file on time.
The thing is, and Josh, you and I know this, and Susan knows this, and Jonathan knows it better than all of us, is that for nearly 4 years, they hounded Jonathan and Joanne
And
like
friends and
they were
family.
hunting animals. And it cost them their business. It cost them moving homes. It put a tremendous strain on their parents and their lives. People don't understand how just charges like this destroys lives. And these people down at ethics and over at the Attorney General's office, and especially over at Revenue, did not give a damn.
They wanted this to happen.
Yeah.
They wanted this to happen. Anybody knows Jonathan knows that this is not, the guy they portrayed is not the guy, and they knew it, and they still went at
And
it.
now he's got to rebuild his life, Josh.
Yeah, as Susan mentioned earlier, I mean, we know Jonathan, and first of all, Jonathan and I disagree on a lot of stuff, and so the cleverness part. I mean, come on, Jonathan's not. You know what I mean? No, I'm joking. I'm joking in a serious situation.
Well, nobody ever
Absolutely
mentioned that
no.
Jonathan would be clever enough or manipulative enough to try to get out of his taxes.
Yeah, I mean, we should have known it was BS right there. Everyone said you got to be clever to do this. Oh, come on, get out of here. That's not Jonathan. But listen, in all seriousness, you're right about this. This is, that cost hundreds of thousands of dollars to defend himself against these charges, and it's so ludicrous. It's so, I know that Steve Marshall has taken issue with Cynthia Ralston.
Yeah.
All right. I know that he has done so. I hope he is also taking issue with the person in his office that continued on with this.
Yeah, they've been moved out. They've been moved out.
Yes.
And so I think that somebody over there, I hope somebody over there is taking a real hard look at how this happened.
Yep.
Because you can't subject. This is a nightmare for average citizens.
Yep. It is.
It is. This is something that ruins people.
Yep.
And when it's dismissed like this, everybody else goes, "Oh well, it's okay." No, it'll take them decades to recover from this.
Anyway, we're going to have to leave it right there. You're watching the voice of Alabama politics. We'll be right back.
Your home is your most valuable asset. But what if someone tried to steal it from you? Property fraud is one of the fastest growing areas of fraud in the country today.
As a district attorney, I've seen firsthand the devastating effects of property fraud. That's why I'm proud to support the Montgomery County Probate Court's REACT program.
REACT is designed to protect your property and to give you peace of mind. By signing up, you'll receive an email notification if a document is filed against your property.
This program is a game changer. It has the potential to prevent fraud and protect countless homeowners throughout Montgomery County.
So don't wait. Sign up for REACT today and protect your home.
Protect your home with REACT. Sign up today.
Speed is one of the biggest factors in a fatal car crash. Your car stops, but your body does not stop at the same time. Your body keeps going, and that could be running into your seatbelt, that could be hitting the airbag. Something has to stop it, and unfortunately, it's something very hard.
There have been times that we've come upon accidents where if people weren't speeding, they'd probably still be alive today.
It's truly dangerous and it puts everybody at risk.
There's just no point to it.
This kind of stuff has got to stop.
Welcome back to the voice of Alabama politics. Susan, we've talked about it on this show a lot. There is the summer EBT program that would provide meals during the summer for some 500,000 children that will go without food this summer because they rely on free lunches at school. They would go without food if the state didn't pay a small fee for the federal government program over the summer. The legislature, in all their graciousness, has decided to pay 2/3 of the fee that's needed. It's $15 million to completely fund it. So far, they've allocated 10 because God knows we cannot spend an extra $5 million to feed hungry children.
At this point, I'm just glad they're doing something. Now, this is coming out of the Alabama Senate Finance and Taxation Education Committee.
Yeah.
It hasn't reached the floor yet of either house or been through the second committee in the House. However, at least they're trying to do something. So that not only will just paying the $10 million set up this program for the children who, it's not their fault that their parents can't afford to feed them, but it'll also generate around $100 million for the state.
Nobody's poor, no child is poor because they choose to be poor. But Josh, this is our buddy up there in Decatur, Arthur Orr, who is resistant to helping any child or any minority. He has not seen a child or minority that he did not despise, and he shows it with how he allocates money.
Yeah, I know where you can find $100 million of money right now.
Yeah.
To where it's the money that you gave to all those rich families to send their kids to private school. But we can't come up with $15 full million. I mean, hell, just stop prosecuting people like Jonathan for a little while and you'll come up with a solid $5 pretty quick. I mean, we always have money for things that people prioritize, all right? And whether it's economic development stuff and, private schools or what, there's so many things. We were going to give $30 million to a private college.
Yeah.
That money, from what I understand, was sitting in a fund. Where the hell is that money? Why can't we use that for a couple of years?
Yep. Well, my mother used to say, if you want to know where somebody's priorities are, find out where they spend their money. And wherever they spend their money the most, that's what they love the most. And these people just do not love children. At least the man who's in charge of this.
They love children until they're born.
Yeah.
And then they're a burden on the state.
Well, as soon as they crown baby,
that's been my motto on that for years.
It's just one of those sad situations where people's children are going to go hungry. And children are not poor through any fault of their own.
But I do have to give a shout out to Senators Vivian Figures, Garland Gudger, Roger Smithman, as well as Representatives Barbara Drummond and Laura Hall for keeping hope, at least some hope alive for these children.
Yep. Well, and we flip over to children that they talk about children they hate. If you're being harassed at school, if you're being sexually harassed at school, if you're being bullied at school, if you're LGBTQ at school, they don't want to protect you. They do not want to protect children because under Title IX, of the new rules by the Biden administration, there are greater protections for those who are being harassed, those who are being sexually bullied or assaulted. There's more protection for LGBTQ kids. What we're talking about here is showing that we care less about the rights of certain children than we do about all children. Josh, I think that is a point that Mackey and Marshall are making. They care more about some kids than they do about other kids.
Yeah. It's been kind of a point of emphasis for this for the last couple of years now within our lawmakers. The policies that we've pushed, the bills that we've passed. It's all been an attack on these kids that are under attack every day. And the idea that you would have a problem with simply saying, look, these folks have as much rights as you do.
Yeah.
I mean, it seems like, I don't know. I seem to remember in history books, there's something similar to that happened around these states, some years back where, we went through this before and we fought this, and there was a dude in the schoolhouse door and a whole bunch of things,
the civil rights movement, which this is an offshoot of civil rights movement.
But we
right?
don't teach that in school anymore. Those are divisive concepts, remember?
Yeah, civil rights is a divisive
that's right.
concept. But Josh, this is an extension of the Civil Rights Act. 1972 is when this was passed, and it was designed to protect children and create them, treat them equally. Now we tell children, thousands of Alabama children, that they are less equal than their peers.
Yeah, I mean it's exactly the message that we're wanting to send is that there's something wrong with these kids.
Yeah,
that's what they're wanting. That's what they're wanting to. It's a message that they're wanting to send, as though those kids don't hear that message enough as it is. It's the reason why they're one of the most at-risk groups of children and groups of people on the planet right now, and why they have some of the highest rates of suicide.
Yeah, I mean, Susan, I have always said, and I believe this is not true to me, but how a state or a country treats its elderly and its children shows the true character of it. I don't think we're doing much for the children of Alabama.
We're not protecting them. We're not even in this. I mean, one of the things in this legislation, it says that, it was that if the bullying was persistent and pervasive, that was the only way an administrator could take action.
Yes.
What this adjustment to Title IX does say persistent or pervasive, which gives them more authority to be able to intervene at an earlier stage of the bullying. I mean, this is all we're talking about, words here that actually give somebody the opportunity to go in and stop a bully from making these children feel bad about themselves. That's all we're talking about.
It is not right to tell one segment of the population that they are less valued than another. We did that with Black individuals for years. We've done it with women for years. It is time to stop. Anyway, you're watching the voice of Alabama politics. We'll be right back.
Today, Montgomery is a safer city. It's time to shift the narrative and take control of our future. We're reopening community centers, remediating blight, and revitalizing neighborhoods across the city. And we're unleashing new opportunities. Over the past year, companies have invested a record-setting $2 billion in Montgomery and created 2,000 jobs. This is a new Montgomery. And together, we're reimagining the possibilities.
As a paramedic, you wouldn't believe the things that we've seen.
I've seen all types of horrible things.
I mean, we're there basically picking up the pieces from your worst day.
Everyone is just driving and not paying attention.
We all have the same goal. All of us want to go home alive and safe and harm nobody else in the process.
Slow down. Be careful. Care about the other people on the road. Don't be the reason that someone else doesn't go home tonight.
Welcome back to the voice of Alabama politics. For a good 10 years now, almost yearly, we have seen gambling legislation come right up to the edge of passing, only to see it be jerked away like Lucy with football would do to Charlie Brown. Mm-hmm. Now, this year it was not supposed to be that way. Nathaniel Ledbetter rallied the House of Representatives. Andy Witt and Mr. Blackshear, Representative Blackshear, had worked diligently with others for 13 months to craft this package. It sailed through the House and then went to the Senate and went through a meat grinder, a place where the bill had passed, similar bills had passed 5 times. Susan?
Yeah, they put it through the meat grinder. Then they took it to Joint Conference Committee. It languished there for a while. They brought it out on Tuesday, and we were right there, midnight Tuesday night, and it failed by 1 vote.
Yeah, but it passed the House again.
Oh, it passed the House again. I'm
it's
sorry.
It's the Senate, Josh, where it failed by 1 vote, and that idiot, Lance Bell, from St. Clair County, was supposed to vote yes if they needed the extra vote. They needed 21 votes to pass it. This numpty voted no. Either he's so stupid he cannot count, or he was in the bag for Alpha or somebody that he just ignored the promise that he made. Now, I can tell you right now, when Jim McClendon voted against the gas tax, they did not get a thimbleful of concrete or asphalt in St. Clair County. The word on the street in Montgomery is that Lance Bell and the people of St. Clair County will not get a dime in infrastructure going forward because that guy decided he could put his own self-interest above getting $100 million to $200 million in economic development and infrastructure for his district.
Yeah. I mean, listen, man, I think you said 10 years. This has been going on for 30 years.
Oh, I know.
I mean, there was a vote in 94 for essentially the same bill for electronic gaming.
Yeah,
and I mean, it failed and by like a couple of votes, and it was supposed to pass. And you're right. It's Lucy with the football kind of situation. And this was, what started out in the House was a very good bill. It's a very comprehensive bill. I mean, it was, when I say a good bill, it was a good Alabama bill.
Yeah.
All right, there are better bills that could have been passed in other states, but with our laws and our situation, it was the best bill you could hope for.
Right.
And what came out of conference committee was, it wasn't a great bill.
No.
Let's don't get it twisted. It was far lesser than what they started with, better than the Senate version of the bill, and it probably would produce enough revenue for you to take the funds from the lottery and have the scholarship programs that people were hoping for, and still have enough money left over from the electronic gaming and the compact to pay for the enforcement to kill off the other illegal gaming, because what came out of the Senate wouldn't even have paid for the enforcement arm of this thing. So it just, man, it's discouraging for a lot of people. And it's, I'll tell you this, the lack of leadership in the Senate has been striking. I mean, the fact that they basically advocated responsibility late in this, some to the lieutenant governor's office, some to Garland Gudger, to kind of make this thing happen.
Yeah.
And to Gudger's credit, he went in and did a hell of a job. Honestly, there were a lot of people that were very impressed with the way he handled this thing, and very unimpressed with the way Greg Reed has just I don't know if he just went home or what happened. But I mean,
they met on Wednesday evening, several hours. Leadership in the Senate met because they only need one more vote.
Right.
They only need one more vote, and that vote was there. But according to someone who was in the room, leadership decided, and that means President Pro Tem Greg Reed and a few others, decided that they would not pressure anyone to change their vote therefore almost certainly tanking the bill for probably another 4 or 5 years.
I have a solution to that. Let me understand. This is a bill for you to be able to vote on whether you want gambling or not in this state. It's not their decision.
Right.
This is a constitutional amendment. It's your decision. Let me lay out the no votes. And if you're really interested in what's going to happen, if you really want to vote on this issue for yourself, yes or no, I would start contacting them as soon as you see this show. Contact them on Monday. They've got some wiggle room come Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday next week. So it's going to be up to you. Greg Albritton, Gerald Allen, Lance Bell, Tom Butler, Josh Carnley, Chris Elliott, Sam Gavan, Keith Kelly, Wes Kitchens, Arthur Orr, Dan Roberts, Shay Shelnut, and Larry Stutz.
Let's name them and shame them.
Name them and shame them.
Because their problem is they will not let the people of Alabama vote on an issue that 80% of the people of Alabama want to vote on.
They want to vote, yes
Now,
or no.
I have one more suggestion that you gave me, and I'm going to steal it from you. Governor Kay Ivey has a hammer in her toolbox. And that's what it's going to take to bring some of these people
And she
around.
does love her hammer.
She does love the hammer. But she can let them sine die and then turn right around and call them back into a special session with only one thing on the call: get a gaming bill passed. Now, they can come in and sine die, and she can come back and she can call them right back into session. She can keep calling them back into session until next year sometime when the new session starts, and she can call them back into session then. And if she would get bad enough on this to let the people vote, she could keep calling them back, calling them back, calling them back until they can find one smart person who would capitulate.
There you go.
That's my idea. Anyway, we're going to have to leave it right there. Josh, you want to chime in real quick?
Oh, I'm just going to say, listen, if your district needs a road or some broadband, now's your opportunity.
Now is your opportunity, or you won't get one thimbleful of any of that.
No.
Okay, you've been watching the voice of Alabama politics. You watch us because we watch them.